So you want to learn some more Bazaar items. There are plenty more out there for us to cover, and today we're going to be covering a whole bunch of items that come together to form quite a neat little Pygmalion strength build. This is going to be our big pig boy dealing massive amounts of damage with, mostly his fists. So in this Pygmalion build, we're going to be going over a whole bunch of items. These include the Sizable Contract, the Flail, the Haladie, or however hell you're supposed to pronounce that, the Crook, Brass Knuckles, and Grindstone. So, starting from the very beginning, we have the Sizable Contract. Every 8 seconds, this medium item will grant you 18 health. When you use a medium item, grant 1 second of advance to your large and small items. A few things to go over here. The first and sort of, I guess, most important one is how advance works, or what advance is. 1 second of advance basically means to take 1 second off remaining cooldowns. So if I have a large item or a small item that has 10 seconds of cooldown left before it triggers, and Sizable Contract activates, knocking 1 second off or giving it 1 second of advance, that 10 seconds becomes 9 seconds. Currently, this doesn't overlap 0. So if I had 0.5 seconds left on that cooldown and I advanced by 1 second, it would knock that 0.5 out, it would instantly activate, but then it would go back to its full duration of charge. It wouldn't have that extra 0.5 that goes over. Sizable Contract in general, as an item, 18 health is considerable. It's a nice big heal, but for 8 seconds, that's quite a low, it's quite a long cooldown. A sort of, I guess it's more of a medium cooldown. I would say medium cooldowns, maybe 7-8 seconds, 9. Once you're hitting double digits, 10 seconds plus, that's a long cooldown. And 5, 4, and 3 are the shorter cooldowns that we see. Anything less than that, and that is an exceptional item. So 8 seconds, that's towards the higher end of the mid-tier sort of cooldowns. 18 health is a good chunk, but you are mostly getting this for its passive, which is when you use a medium item, advanced, large, and small items. So it's going to require you to have a mixed build. There are a lot of items like this that say when you activate this, reduce the cooldown of all large items or small items. So you're incentivized in that regard to build a very specific way. Sizable Contract can kind of fit in a lot of different places, but it's going to have a particular niche, I feel like. There are going to be small or large items that benefit from this, and medium items that have a low cooldown that can trigger this, and those are the ones you're going to want to look out for. Moving along, we have the Flail. Every 8 seconds, this medium weapon deals 7 damage 3 times. This being a medium weapon will trigger Sizable Contract, reducing the cooldown of our small and large items, and then it will deal 7 damage 3 times, which is 21 damage. The reason why you would want something like Flail, I mean, there are a lot of reasons why, but there is a hero stat in the game called Strength. If you have 1 Strength, all of your weapons deal 1 more damage. With items like Flail, that 7 would become an 8. It wouldn't go from doing 21 damage to 22 damage. It would go from dealing 7 damage 3 times to 8 damage 3 times. So you would go from 21 damage to 24 damage. So Strength is just a much better investment when you have these, what we typically refer to as multicast items. There are a bunch of different cast types: dual cast, tricast, I think, multicast, there's octocast. Basically, it means trigger this item or activate this item that many times. Flail is akin to that, although it predated the terminology. So Flail may change, although I think it's stuck to its current look for quite a while. So yeah, Flail, you're going to want to get some strength with it, or maybe an item that buffs another item's damage. That would also work really nicely with Flail. Moving along, but still talking about multicasting in some aspects, we have the Haladie. This small weapon, every 10 seconds, deals 3 damage. Its passive is dual cast. This is how most of the multicast items currently look. They have a passive of something cast, in this case dual cast, and their effect is deal damage, or whatever they're supposed to be doing. So this, first of all, it takes 10 seconds, so it's quite a hefty cooldown, but we're going to be getting that 1 second of advance from our medium weapons activating. So when Flail activates at 8 seconds, Haladie goes from having 2 seconds left on its cooldown straight down to 1. So it's effectively a 9-second cooldown weapon before we've considered any of our other items. And I know for a fact that's going to change. We then also have dual cast, so again, like we discussed with Flail, it's going to benefit greatly from having strength. And now we have 2 of these. This build is going to want some strength. So rather than hammer that home any harder, let's get to that strength. Next item up is Crook. This medium item, every 10 seconds, deals 9 damage. That's not really what we're here for though. It also gives you a flat boost to 9 strength. That is going to be huge for Flail. That's effectively adding 21 damage to Flail. I misspeak. That's effectively adding 27 damage to Flail because I can't do maths. So it's more than doubling the damage that Flail does. And it's easily more than doubling the damage that Haladie does. That's adding 18 damage to the 6 it was currently doing. So Crook is an absolute essential part of this build. If any of you, I have a background in archaeology. I used to be an archaeologist. I studied it for 4 years. What got me into archaeology was Egyptology and pharaohs and all that stuff. The Crook and Flail, that's the shit they used to hold. The pharaohs, that's the classic 2-piece. So I'm glad that they've got those 2 together and they have such a great synergy. That makes my archaeological heart happy. But yeah, Crook is where we're getting a big bunch of our strength from. There are plenty of other ways that you can gain strength in this game. There are a number of encounters that you can go through as you go through your Bazaar day, where you can get strength through certain events, like pay 5 gold to go to this buffet and eat lots of food. Or there's a gym event where you can pay money to gain access to this gym to gain strength permanently for the rest of the game. That plus your Crook is going to be where this build really starts to pack a punch. Next along the line, speaking of packing a punch, are the brass knuckles. This small weapon, every 8 seconds will deal 5 damage. However, this item gains triple the bonus from strength. So this 5 damage is going to become 34 damage because we're going to get 29 from Crook. That's absolutely insane, and of course, we're going to be able to get more strength throughout the game. Every strength we get is worth 3 on Brass Knuckles, just as it is on Flail. So these all have a great amount of synergy. And of course, Brass Knuckles is charging much faster because of the sizable contract that we had. I should have sent with Crook. Crook is a medium item, so it's making Brass Knuckles and Haladie charge faster because of Sizable Contract. That is one big benefit of Sizable Contract, is that it works with all items. If it is a small item, it charges faster. If it's a medium item, it helps things charge faster. And a large item charges faster. That is Brass Knuckles. Last but not least, we have the Grindstone. Every 6 seconds, this medium item gives your left weapon, so in this case, Brass Knuckles, damage equal to your strength this fight. I read this as Brass Knuckles. It could be your leftmost weapon, which would be Flail. I think that would be a better setup. However, it's still a perfectly good item in this situation. Basically what you're doing is we have at least 9 strength. So this is giving an item a buff to their damage. It's not giving them strength, it's giving them a damage buff. Which is why Brass Knuckles isn't the best recipient for this, because Brass Knuckles just does damage once, but triples the strength bonus it has. Whereas Flail and Haladie deal damage 3 times. So if you buff Flail's damage, it'll do that 3 times. So maybe swap Brass Knuckles and Flail here to get the maximum benefit out of it. But either way, it's a really good synergistic item to have. We want a lot of strength. So Grindstone is going to be giving us a lot of strength. Don't forget as well, this might sound like a passive. It might be like, okay, so I have 9 strength. This Brass Knuckles in this case is going to start at 14 damage. Wonderful. No, that's every 6 seconds. And it's a medium item. So this is quite a low cooldown medium item that's going to be making our small and large items trigger faster. And multiple times during a fight, it's going to add your strength to your other items. So a really nice item to have in this build, and really rounds out the rest of it for this large sort of strength gathering, multi-hitting brass knuckle build. So if you enjoyed this, we actually run a weekly challenge called the Bazaar Builds Out of Context Challenge. You can join that in the Discord server below if you want to hop in and join in the fun. However, if you do want to check out more of these Pygmalion builds, we go a little bit more in depth into some of the specific details of another build here. It's a very different kind of Pygmalion build. It's a lot more control-based for any of you coming from games like Hearthstone. So yeah, check out this control build from Pygmalion and join us in the Discord down below.